game 7-1, and your NHL leading scorer and possible MVP didn't have a point. What does that say about everybody else on this team?
It says we're a team. There's no other way to put it. We just don't rely on Connor. We rely on the group as a whole. Yet Connor, I thought, had a tremendous game. He seemed to be on the end of the fourth helper in a lot of situations. But you can't do it alone. You can't do it on one man's shoulders, and it was a group effort tonight.
Coach, at the hotel yesterday, you spoke about your group's bounce-back ability as being good but not great. Would you upgrade that today?
Today it was, yeah. Obviously, with the results, I thought we had a good bounce back in Game 5 in their building, but we didn't finish it. That's why it went from great to good. Tonight it was obviously much better, but the big test is coming up. And like we do when it's a poorly played game, we dwell on it for a little while, and then we move on. And we're going to have to park this one quickly and get prepared for a big battle down there.
Todd, can you address how Jim managed the defensive core with all the injuries and how that went tonight?
Well, he did a tremendous job, and more importantly, the players did an excellent job. We thought this morning that we were going to have to inject 2 new bodies into the lineup. Grimes has been ready to go, chomping at the bit to get in, and we knew he would give us a good game. Griffin was the wild card, but he came in and played very admirably and did a good job.
Todd, with Leon, have you ever had a player in any of your lineups has ever had so much personal success against one specific team?
I'm sure there's guys that have success against certain teams that I've been around. Off the top of my head, I can't remember or recall one, but there are players that, just works for them some nights against some teams, and yet there's other buildings that guys struggle in. I can't explain it. I don't know why.
Can you just address Letestu's game tonight, but maybe also Milan Lucic, just the energy that he seemed to play with tonight, created a few goals?
Yeah, those are 2 mature leaders. Those are guys that have played in the playoffs before. They've gone through setbacks at this time of the year and real good period opportunities to succeed, and they both elevated their game today. Big parts to the success tonight, and I believe they can be big parts on Wednesday as well.
Todd, have you been in a series where every game seemed to be different? I mean, they always say it's a one-game entity and you go on to the next game, but it really is true in this series where there's no real momentum.
No, momentum, in my opinion, you reestablish it every night. It doesn't carry over from game to game. Each game is its own entity, has its own circumstances, takes on its own personality, and we've really seen this in this series. There's been comebacks, there's been ups, downs, momentum swings from period to period, shift to shift. What else can you say? That's just the way the series has been going.
Todd, just you're right. Even though you mentioned how the team shelves previous games and whatnot, this team came out like it was a team scorned, like they had some anger tonight for the start of this game.
Well, they weren't very pleased leaving Anaheim blowing a 3-0 lead. And there are some other circumstances, obviously, that they weren't happy with, but they just pulled together. You could feel the team come together. It was great to get the win because of all the work they put into coming together today in a real short time of period.
Todd, could you explain the decision to put Leon at center, and was it something that you were trying to avoid for a bit because that line had been so good at splitting those 2 guys up? And what kind of impact do you think that it's had on this series and the matchup game?
Well, again, we're built to play the game however it's played. Peter and his staff's done a good job, and our lines are constructed that we can keep them together and play them apart. And we pick and choose based on the opponent, the situation. It's interesting, there'll be a lot of talk about separating those 2 now, but production-wise, Connor and Leon were the 2 best players together, I believe, from the time we put them together to the end of the year. It's hard to argue with that.
Everybody knows your team's really young. 11 players making their playoff debuts this year. 20 guys weren't even born last time this team was in a Stanley Cup final or won a Stanley Cup. Do they know what they're accomplishing, do you think? how hard it is?
You know what? I do think they know and they understand what's happening. The one good thing about the inexperience is they don't understand. Some of them don't understand the impact that the media has and the scrutiny they're under and that type of stuff. They just come and play, and you know, there's a little bit of an innocence, if you will, to a lot of them. So they show up and battle, and you know, that inexperience is going to get tested on Wednesday. We know they're going to come out much better than they did here.
Todd, Matt Benning on your power play, for a rookie basically to come in at that time. Talk about his poise on the power play specifically, and then do you expect Clefbaum to be available for Game 7?
We expect Clef to be available, and I thought Matt Benning had a tremendous night all over the rink, but in particular the power play. He got a number of opportunities earlier in the year, and then we settled in on units. He gets a lot of time in practice, so it's not like he's going in blind. But when Sekera and Clefbaum were both sidelined, we had huge concerns about that quarterback position on the power play, and Russell and Benny did a really good job.